Welcome to Mainland, your local regional television station, coming to you from the Nelson and Tasman region. In today's news, worsening ferry woes for Inter-Islander Line, Nelson records lift in spending last month, inaugural First Responders Parade this weekend, and Tasman draft annual plan submission period closes. It's going from bad to worse for the Inter-Islander Line, with 2 ferries out of circulation, the latest being the replacement vessel the Stena Allegra, which was damaged on Tuesday afternoon while berthing in Wellington. It's understood the ship's hull suffered a gash during strong southerly winds after a voyage from Picton. Passengers and cargo were shifted off the vessel prior to the ship being moved to Aotea Quay, where it is being assessed for damage. Subsequently scheduled Stena Allegra sailings have been cancelled, and it's unknown how long the ferry will be out of action. The New Zealand First Leader Winston Peters says it's time to do the sums on the Cook Strait Lemon, the Aratiri ferry. Mr Peters says yet again the costly Lemon has been hit with problems, and they have no idea when it will get back on the important run between the North and South Islands. Sea trials for the ship have this week been postponed after cracks were found in the port and starboard rudder stock. The ship has been undergoing repair in a dry stock in Singapore following the loss of a propeller in Cook Strait. Winston Peters says the minister responsible should be doing the sums. He says the bill for the ferry and the constant repairs is spiralling. He says maybe it's time to cut this floating disaster adrift and start from scratch, and says it's certainly not fit for passengers. Mr Peters says the Aratiri's days are numbered. He says KiwiRail management has been repeatedly warned, but they just won't face reality over this troubled ship. Another positive result for the Nelson retail sector, with the volume of spending up 4.7% last month compared with March 2013. Paymark figures show $84 million was spent in Nelson in March this year, up $4 million on the same month last year. In seasonally adjusted terms, overall national spending throughout Paymark was unchanged from February to March. A key influence in some sectors and regions has been shifting Easter. Last year Easter was in March, and this year it's in April. This is reflected in the Paymark figures as higher than otherwise annual growth rates in spending in the major cities during March. Spending was recorded as low at chemists and in department stores. Nelson's Trafalgar Street is likely to be the safest place in the country this Saturday thanks to the First Responders 2014, the city's inaugural emergency services parade. Around 100 emergency services personnel are expected to take part, from police, fire, St John, civil defence, Nelson Surf Lifesaving, Nelson Volunteer Coast Guard, Territorials, Red Cross, Maori Wardens, and both Nelson and Richmond community patrols. The parade leaves Millers Acre at 11 AM and heads down Trafalgar Street to the church steps, where the people who keep Nelson safe will be thanked for their efforts by Nelson MP Nick Smith and Nelson Mayor Rachel Rees. There'll be a number of speeches by police, fire and ambulance bosses, followed by some spectacular demonstrations. Mainland's Janine Pugh spoke with organiser Matt Laurie about this exciting event.
Now, we're talking about first responders. There's a parade happening this Saturday.
Yep.
Can you tell me a little bit about this?
Okay, so it's basically an opportunity to say thank you to the men and women who keep Nelson safe, because we have all these first responders, all these emergency services out there, but unless you're unlucky enough to be a victim of crime or tragedy, you don't actually get an opportunity to say thanks to these people and give them a pat on the back. So I decided it was time we did that, and so that's what we're doing on Saturday.
So is this the first time it's ever happened?
The inaugural emergency services parade for Nelson, and we can't find any record of any other town in New Zealand doing one either, so it's quite exciting.
Awesome. Okay, so what will people expect? If we turn up on Saturday, run through a little bit give us a taster.
Okay, so the parade starts at Millers Acre at 11 o'clock, and we're going to start with a band, and then we're going to have the fire service come through because they've got the biggest toys. And then we'll have about 16 different emergency groups coming down one after the other down the road. There'll be fire engines, there'll be police cars, there'll be urban search and rescue vehicles, there'll be a Coast Guard life raft on a trailer, there'll be all sorts of police cars, police dogs, the whole thing. So there's going to be lots of colour, there'll be a bit of noise, there'll be lots of sirens, and there'll be lots of men and women in uniform.
Nice. Will this lovely ambulance here, in the 1940s ambulance, be on the tour?
Yeah, so this beautiful ambulance is part of the parade. We're having a little Heritage Week component because Saturday is also the start of Nelson City's Heritage Week. So we're going to have this, I believe it's 1940s ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to have a horse-drawn ambulance as well. And we're going to have an old-fashioned fire engine as part of the parade too.
Now, the parade starts at Millers,
Yep.
heads up to the wonderful church steps.
It does.
What does happen once that happens? Is it everyone disperses?
No, so 11 o'clock they start coming down Trafalgar Street to church steps. We're going to close the top of Trafalgar Street. The rest of Trafalgar Street will open, but from Hardy Street to the church steps will be closed. We're going to have some speeches by Nelson MP Nick Smith and Nelson Mayor Rachel Rees. We'll also be hearing from the heads of police, fire and the ambulance service in the Nelson region. And then we are going to have some very cool demonstrations. We are going to have firefighters cutting up a car in the middle of Trafalgar Street. We're going to have paramedics rescuing the dummy that's trapped inside that car and reviving the dummy. And then we're going to have a police demonstration of the taser. So we might use the same dummy. It's going to be a big day for the dummy. So the police are going to do a taser demonstration. I think they're looking at maybe half a dozen discharges of the 50,000 volt weapon. That's not something you get to see every day. And then we've also got the police are going to have a speed camera, and they are going to be clocking kids running down the street. We're going to see how fast Nelson kids can run. And there's more. The Coast Guard are going to do a demonstration involving a life raft, and I think they're going to show us how fast one of the rafts pops open. So there'll be lots to see, and Surf Life Saving are doing a barbecue fundraiser. So lots going on.
So you're not going to volunteer to be tasered then?
I thought about it, and I thought about it. Thank you. I thought about it. I thought about nominating a few other politicians as well. But I'm told they're not allowed to taser real people in a demonstration.
I think
Having said that, you know what? If someone gets really out of hand, if someone gets a bit overexcited, you never know.
Would you rather be behind holding the taser or being tasered?
I think I'd rather be holding the taser, yeah. 50,000 volts.
I think, to be honest, it actually would really show your commitment to the city.
Well, like I said, I actually did inquire and they said I couldn't do it. So I tried.
Another thing, because I'm feeling like you're actually, this is something that actually is a little bit passionate to you and a bit excitement. Were you a typical young fellow when you were a child wanting to get inside and drive a fire engine?
Absolutely. And I think on more than one occasion I actually wandered into the Central Police Station in Wellington after sort of reviewing my life and getting some recruitment papers as well. But one of the things that got me thinking about this is I had a pretty unpleasant episode one day when I was picking up our eldest from school, and my back went out on Vanguard Street, and I ended up just in a pile of screaming agony on Vanguard Street, and it was really, really painful, and I couldn't move, I couldn't get up. I thought I was going to fall unconscious. No, it was grim. I actually thought I had a Jimi Hendrix moment. I thought, you are going to vomit and then drown in your own vomit. This is how much pain I was in. And someone called an ambulance. The ambulance came. They had gas, which was fantastic, and they took me to the hospital and they looked after me. But I was in so much pain, and at the same time I was so relieved. I don't remember saying thanks to them. And it's really good knowing that there are men and women out there, trained men and women who are out there, who will come when things go wrong, And without knowing they're there, I think society would be a very different place.
I agree. So any last words for the people of our region, Nelson and Tasman region?
So my last words go like this. Come down to Trafalgar Street this weekend, this Saturday, from 11 to support first responders. Come on, Nelson. Show our emergency services how much you appreciate the great work they do. We will see you, rain or shine, from 11 in Trafalgar Street. How's that?
And now Janine Pugh speaks with Nelson Fire Station Senior Officer Graham Kurth about the role of officers and volunteers in relation to emergency responses within the region.
Okay, I'm down here with Graham Kurth at the Nelson Fire Station. Thank you for welcoming us here today.
Yeah, no problem. You're welcome on station anytime, Janine.
Thank you very much, Graham. Now, this Saturday is the inaugural First Responders Parade in Nelson. What's this mean for all the first responders, the fire, the police, the ambulance, life surf? That's a hard one to say. Surf life-saving.
Right, well, it's certainly out of that group, there's quite a combined group that represent the first responders in the area, of which obviously the fire service is one.
The guys that are going to be on the parade on Saturday is talk they're going to be cutting open a car with the jaws of life?
That's a possible demonstration I've heard that they'll be doing as well, and they'll be demonstrating our techniques and methods for getting a person out of a car in a condition that they can survive spinal and neck injuries.
Okay, Graham, we're talking a little bit earlier on about that obviously the fire station, the fire service do more than just fight fires. Can you elaborate a little bit on this?
Oh yes, our range is far outside of fighting fires. We cover so many different areas now. We're involved in chemical incidents. In fact, the Nelson appliance is the only one that has level 4 chemical suits on, and we cover the west coast, top from Westport north, right across to almost a Kaikoura area with that. We do a number of other things. We've got the command and control vehicle on station here that's used extensively by search and rescue, rural fire and other organisations for command and control on fire grounds. And we also do a unique operation that's currently for the New Zealand Fire Service. We're responding with the rescue helicopter to do cutouts of motor vehicles and industrial accidents, and we respond with the BK helicopter with 2 firefighters and rescue gear. They're flown into the scene only. If there's a person involved trapped there, they will gain access for the paramedic to get into the person and then proceed to start cutting operations to dismantle the vehicle around that person. If there's existing firefighters on scene, they'll back them up at their operation and support them in achieving the same outcomes.
So it's pretty extensive, isn't it, from what you probably would have theoretically seen the fire service isn't just, not just fighting fires, but fighting fires, because it's extended a little bit further than what was the basics. Especially for you, you've been in the service for 43 years. Congratulations, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I certainly didn't have any intentions of staying for any record period of time, but I really enjoy the job, and I've enjoyed doing it, and while I do, I'll continue to be here. But yes, it certainly wasn't an objective to get a long period of time in, but yeah.
Another 7 years and you'll be 50 years.
Yes, I don't think I'll be here quite that long, but I certainly, while I'm enjoying it, I'm staying.
Cool. Now, you guys, as all the probably first responders, you have to work together a lot of the time. Does it gel, or is it something that's had to be worked over the years?
Different personalities obviously affect this, but our role is to work with all the other emergency organisations. We work with the police with a lot of particular incidents that they're involved in as well, and we work with St John's, who are in station with us. Our relationships with St John's have obviously gone from strength to strength in the years we've been together, and we have a informal relationship as well as a formal relationship, and it's about breaking down barriers and getting a better result for both organisations. So the outcome's very good here. Yeah,
because we were just also talking, there was let's say your code that you told me that you guys in the fire service, what your beliefs or what the goal you work towards. Can you share that with our viewers?
Well, our number one priority in the New Zealand Fire Service is to save life. So when I arrive as officer in charge at an incident, that's my first priority, is to save life. After I've looked at the saving life side of it and covered that area, next is to reduce damage to property for people. So that's number 2 on the list, is damaged property reduction, and number 3 is that we offer any other humanitarian service we can, and that's where cats up trees and that sort of call comes from. Certainly if it's somebody's pet animal and it's trapped in a tree and worrying them, it's not our biggest priority to attend, but we do attend them when we can, and we try and get a better outcome for the people.
Nice. Okay, well I was thinking about, in your 43 years, you must have seen some, let's say, crazy rescues you've had to do. What's one of your, or what makes you laugh, I'm thinking, what's one of the craziest, funniest, well, it probably wasn't funny for the person that you had to deal with?
There's so many, I can't really just single one out, but it's very interesting responding to emergencies. Sometimes we'll go and there'll be very little structural damage done to a motor vehicle, and we'll be dealing with death. Other times we go and there's vehicles completely demolished when we arrive at a scene, and we think, how is anybody done to survive it, only to find that everyone walks away. And so it's very, very hard to predetermine just on appearance. It's a matter of going around and checking the scene and the surrounding area as soon as we can to make sure we've got everyone covered.
Fantastic. Well, Graham, thank you very much for talking with us today, and may your team continue, let's say, to have good luck rather than too many situations for the next few weeks and months.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time, Janine. Bye.
And finally, the submission period for the Tasman District Council 2014-2015 draft annual plan is drawing to a close, with Tasman residents having a week to get their submissions in before the closing date of the 15th of April. The annual plan at this stage is a draft, and the consultation period is an important opportunity for the Tasman people to have their say on the work programme for the next 12 months. The community's views contribute a great deal to the councillors' decision making as they decide the final form of the plan for adoption in June. Mayor Richard Kempthorne says this draft annual plan carries on the theme, set last year, of reducing the council's reliance on debt and keeping rates affordable. He says this was a theme supported by the community during the last election, and it's been built upon by councillors and staff in this draft plan. He says this is an important document providing residents and ratepayers with a comprehensive view of the council's operations and the services it delivers. He says the draft annual plan is also the best opportunity to contribute to the council's decision-making processes as it identifies what services, activities and projects will be provided to the Tasman communities. The whole draft annual plan is open for submission, as well as 5 additional policy changes focused on rating issues. He says the council needs to hear both sides, support for or objection to. He says all too often throughout these exercises they don't hear from those that support the proposals. Such opinions are just as important. Submissions can be made via the council's website or on the submission form found at council offices and libraries. After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.